Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Wolverines and Deadpools. Oh, God help me. Y'all know I'm not particularly fond of the silly comics. And unfortunately, what usually winds up happening is you got like Deadpool, who's crazy, and Wolverine, the real Wolverine, who's, serious and whatever. And usually that's supposed to balance each other, but usually Deadpool winds up really taking the cake a bit too much, and Wolverine just kind of gets dragged along for the ride. What you'd expect if it was Deadpool and Spider-Man, right? This case is not really that. I think it's pretty well balanced. When Deadpool's there, he's full on Deadpool, and it's to me it's just kind of annoying. The Wolverine parts are pretty Wolverine though, and then you've got their kids. I'm not a fan of Laura Kinney being called Wolverine, but whatever. I don't have a problem with Laura Kinney in and of herself, X-23, whatever else you want to call her besides Wolverine. But now we've got another Deadpool, and it's a chick, and it's his daughter. And somehow she also, her healing factor makes her smarter. I can't see a healing factor making you smarter. I can see it making you stronger if you're, as long as you're actually working out, lifting, da da da, and it heals faster, and then you can just, keep going. Well, I can 100% see that, right? Giving you almost limitless endurance because the fatigue poisons are cured immediately, right? But I can't see it giving you more intelligence. So now we're just getting a little bit, I know, some people are going to say, it's just a comic book. But other of us actually want a little bit of realism in the comic book to keep us grounded. Otherwise, you just have characters like Stardust. Do you remember Stardust? I'm sure most of you don't. But I'm sure most of you don't want to see, like, Lady Phantoma. You know what I'm saying? Phantoma is just Phantoma running around, right? Do you remember her? Same creator. There's a lot that we don't want to see where it's just an immortal creature who just goes around doing things. No, we want to see some sense of, something grounded, right? Um, and more kids for the characters. I, I guess if you really need to start adding more characters, I don't know that you need to. Do these characters have to get older? It's like, can none of these characters have actually been born and raised like Luke Cage and what's her name? Jessica Jones's baby? I mean, can we not just have that? No, they've all just got to be, surprise, you've got a kid who happens to have your same stuff. Like, come on, what's going on here? Anyway, whatevs. Whatevs. I am going to say that through all of that, so you understand where my mindset is, this was actually a pretty good book, despite myself. And I went into this wanting to not like it, wanting to not review it, wanting to not want to have anything to do with it. But it was pretty darn good, I gotta admit. Am I gonna read the next issue? I'm so tempted. So tempted. Also, yes, this is my first introduction to Ellie Camacho, this lady Deadpool chick. Anyway, Cody Ziegler is the writer. The artist is Roj Antonio. We got Guru FX doing the color art and letters by VC's Travis Lanham. Cover art by Alessandro Capuccio and Marty Gracia. And there's a couple of variant covers out there. Actually, it looks like there are a few variant covers out there. Yeah, or two. Anyway, this book it starts off in Simcaria. They're kind of doing there's some people there. There's this chick who, right away, it's annoying. There's this husband and wife and their kids, and they're in Simcaria. So it's kind of like, it's the Silver Sable country right next to Latveria, right? And they're trying to board up the house. And it's like, we have to move faster. And the wife right away just has to start criticizing the husband. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, if my husband would have chopped wood better. It's like, yeah, he did the best he could. What are you doing? And congratulations. That's literally the last thing your husband ever heard you say now, is criticizing him. Again, enjoy hell, woman. Enjoy hell. All right? So annoying. What's happening to the world today where we can't just figure out how to get along? Kind of negative on this one. Anyway, these shadow type creatures move in and they start, corrupting the kids. and da 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 whatever. And they get taken. The kid just, yes, I want to see why you killed my mom and dad. Oh, okay, cool. So far, Cody Ziegler not doing a great job. I don't know if I've ever read anything else by Cody, but I know this is my first conscious, hey, I'm paying attention to Cody Ziegler. Not off to a good start, but it gets a lot better from then. We come to figure out it is revealed in this issue who everybody is. I know it's in issue number 1. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you I don't want to. There are 2 characters, one who I'm not familiar with, one who I'm pretty familiar with. And then they reveal the king at the end of this comic book, who I'm very familiar with. And that's what kind of got me. Look, I don't know everything that's happening in this stuff. I cannot break the 4th wall, much like it looks like I am, right? There's no illusion around me, so it's not breaking a 4th wall. That's the point of it. This is my wall. There's no wall here. I don't even have a paywall. Anyways, enough of this. Deadpool has the ability to see, that this is a comic book and know what's, in general going to happen pretty soon and whatever. Wolverine doesn't. In fact, he just thinks that Wade is a joke, right? Wade lost some of his healing factor. It's not as good as it used to be. I'm not sure why. Sometimes that happens, and it's weird that happens, and okay, sure. Especially if I don't have any idea why that's happening. It's a weird thing, Wolverine's healing factor is nowhere near what Wade's is. And then the person they're fighting also has a healing factor. It's one of those things where it's like when everybody's got a healing factor, it just kind of gets kind of dumb, But Wade points that out very precisely. Let's see who gets tired of bleeding fastest, right? Good job, Ziegler, right? Dolph Ziggler. If we're going to get wrestling on this. It's hard for me to put my thoughts together in this book because as much as Wade is trying to wade, Wolverine kind of brings him back down to earth, the way that he should. Look, I don't want to get into more of what happens in the comic book, except that Wolverine and Deadpool over here and their children, who should not bear the same names, Lady Wolverine and Lady Deadpool, are over here, and they're fighting their own villain. And they're both doing their own thing because that's what was meant to happen. And I like that. I like that Ziegler found a good way to keep these 2 balanced, Wolverine and Deadpool. That cannot be an easy task. I don't know that I could do it. I don't want to act like I'm some kind of a, guy who could just say, oh, I would write so much better. I don't know if I would. I doubt it. Really solid way of making fans of Deadpool and fans of Wolverine, who may not necessarily be fans of both. I'm one who's a fan of Wolverine, not of Deadpool. And making them work. This was a really good attempt and so far very successful. I'm not completely in hatred of any of the characters in here. I enjoy seeing these guys work together. Seeing who the king at the end was blew me away. I was hoping, but I didn't have any. There was nothing that really gave it away. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, very pleasing. I will say this. The only way Cody could make this better, besides keeping the balance of the 2 main characters here, the only way he can make this better is if he gave a new name that stuck to Lady Deadpool and Lady Wolverine. If he actually gave a new code name that would stick with them, so they wouldn't have to be called Deadpool and Wolverine. That's how good I think this comic was. Really impressive, because I went in thinking I was going to hate the heck out of this. So, boom. Guys, go out and buy this comic book. If you're a fan of either of these characters, you're not going to be disappointed by the other. If you're a fan of both of these, I don't know what you wouldn't like about this. And again, this is my first introduction to Deadpool's daughter. I don't hate her, right? I hate her personal interactions, but I don't know what her insanity is, her sanity level, and any of that stuff. She's not my top pick for a legacy character, but it is what it is. I don't hate her. I kind of enjoyed this book more than I imagined I possibly could. I think some of you guys who clicked on this because you're wondering, is this going to be any good? Yeah. Yeah, this was pretty good. If you're already a fan of both of these characters, I see no reason why you wouldn't like it. Definitely buy the book. Like the video, watch an ad while you're at it. Professor Bell, Comic Book University, class dismissed.